It's Matt Soper with iHeartRadio, and man sitting to my right, he used to be the drummer of the band, made a transition to being lead vocalist, 3-time Grammy nominated, nothing more, Jonny Hawkins. How you doing today, man?
Good. Hell of an introduction there. Thank you.
Well, I'm actually just happy that you showed up with a shirt on today. I don't think I would have been able to match your physique. That's later on tonight the shirt comes off. Is that the plan?
This is my alter ego right now.
Yeah.
This is called Normal Citizen.
So obviously you guys are on a massive North American tour in support of the new album. It was released late 2022, Spirits. What's the tour been like so far for you guys?
It's been a whirlwind right out the gate. I didn't know what to expect with this tour. Once we came out of COVID, everything's kind of been up for grabs. We've kind of been crawling back to where we were before. It just took such a hit in momentum. But then we came out the gate, the first show, and there was a sold-out show. And then the last two have been sold out, and just everybody's going crazy. So... excuse me, that's part of what you hear right there.
I was going to say,
I've been screaming and going wild on stage.
Well,
so,
if anybody's seen, you guys' performances, they know that you give her, right? You go for it every single time.
I leave it all on stage, that's for sure.
I was going to talk about, with COVID, it was such a weird time. That first show, what was that like? Was there anxiety? Was it excitement? Was it a mix of both?
The first one's always quite a mix of nerves and, riding the bike again kind of a thing. But once you get that first one out of the way, it's like everything just feels right.
Spirits, obviously, really incredible album. Really, I found it to be quite emotional at times, and hoping to chat about a few of the songs with you, one of which being the other F word.
Yeah.
And am I getting this correctly with that being about your late mother?
Yeah, that was where the inspiration started. And, some of the lyrics you've heard, you kind of picked up on that, like her voice was kind of ringing in my ears, just things that she had told me when I was a child that I didn't really think into at the time, and then years later as an adult dealing with real life and challenges, her voice would just kind of come back in my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember her saying this, or to look out for that, or beware of this and these type of people, and like just kind of how to judge people's character and know who's for you and against you, things like that. And I felt like we just went through a time period where her voice echoing just like how to look out for snakes, and like I feel like we've gone through a time of a lot of fakeness.
Snakes isn't like people, you mean?
Yeah, people. Yeah, I feel like people just things have been very fake for quite some time, like just a lot of virtue signaling and people acting like they're moral, but really it's all just kind of a veneer, So it's just like it's led me even to look at myself, where I've been fake, and tried to come across as a better person than I am, So it's kind of led me down this path, and that's where that song kind of started, and we just dove deeper with that thought.
Was that therapeutic for you on this album?
Oh yeah. I think all of our music's pretty cathartic and therapeutic for me, just to kind of get it out. I think even I would just say this for anyone, even if you're not an artist or a musician, just putting things into words, whether it's on paper or through therapy or something like that. Sometimes it makes it real and tangible, and then you can do something with it,
My mother just actually had a battle with cancer and beat it, which is great. She came out the other side.
Great.
And as you were talking about it right there, and you're talking about hearing the voices, in your head and some of the things that, I don't know, it spoke to me. And I feel like that's true with a lot of your music. The emotion is so raw. I have to imagine, it's not necessarily planned, but you can't help yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that it translates that way, because I think just since I was young, I've always kind of been a person who, when I felt something, I felt it extreme, like more than maybe the normal balanced person, like if I felt something great, it's amazing. If I feel something exactly bad, it's, I've always felt that way. And so I've been fortunate to be able to have an outlet such as music where it actually works as a strength, because in other areas of life, if you don't have a way to channel that and plug it in, it could be to your detriment,
I have to imagine for you, there's no better therapy than getting on stage and just letting loose.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that until when COVID happened, when it was taken away.
I could only imagine.
I guess for so long at that point, I had not lived a year without being on the road and having that outlet. So when it was kind of gone,
your whole routine,
I
right?
was like, yeah, it just felt like things were getting bottled up, and I was kind of just, I don't know, exploding in weird ways and kind of lashing out here or there. Like my energy wasn't right, And then over time I was like, oh yeah, it's because I'm like literally screaming every night and like sweating out like all these things. And I heard someone use this term one time. They were like, I guess, have you ever heard of scream therapy?
Okay.
It's just like, I guess it's literally you just going and just screaming, And I thought about it. I was like, I do that every day. So it does seem to, it's like a primal release, I mean, I'm thankful that I guess in a way that we went through it, even though I don't want to ever deal with that again.
You take little bits from it.
But what the silver lining for me was just, I wasn't ever a very grateful person, to be honest. I was more ambitious. I was always focused on accomplishment and gaining more, So that really taught me to be grateful. I was like, oh wow, like doing what we did, touring and getting to sing with fans and be in all these different cities. It was more magical than I had appreciated, because I was just so tired all the time from travel that I couldn't really be grateful for it,
Yeah, you guys have become big advocates, big champions for mental health. And I was curious, obviously with somebody who has battled it, and this goes back to family, you obviously have the song Jenny, which talks about this, and you've talked about it with yourself as well. Was it always the plan to be champions and advocates, or does it just kind of happen and you go, okay, yeah, this is our calling. Like, we've got to speak up a little bit here. I think some people need this.
I think ever since day one we started the band, I think I was like in middle school. I was like in 7th grade. Yeah. And from day one, there was this kind of like purpose mindset. So I was raised very religious. I was raised in the church. Like I grew up in a youth group. I played drums in the church band. Not very religious as an adult, but growing up in that kind of environment, like they really instilled and like hammered down on purpose and meaning and like, all these deeper things. And so I always felt like the music wasn't just music. It was something more, like okay. it was spiritual, So I always had that mindset. But then as like you said, the song Jenny was just natural. It just came out because of my situation with my sister. But then once it did, I'll be honest, I'm no saint, or whatever. I had no intention of helping anyone. I really didn't. Yeah. It was purely a selfish release.
Was it a light bulb moment of like?
But I did have this like river I had to cross where I was very afraid to release it. I had to speak with my sister about it, beforehand, and make sure that we weren't doing more harm, because it's a pretty brutally honest song.
No doubt about it.
And I think that doing it, though, it was incredible. Like you said, there was a light bulb where it was like, oh, wow, this like ended up helping so many people, not because I had the thought of helping people, but that I had to battle my own demons of being honest. Mm-hmm. Like so many times in life, we're just not honest about what's really going on, and we don't want to say it and just really put it on the table. And just being honest, like, opened up this whole world, because people connect with honesty, because they're like, oh, that's real.
Was that scary
feel
at first?
It was very scary
right?
at first,
Like heavy feeling, right? Of like,
oh,
I'm sure you started getting all these stories.
Oh, I had people telling me I was the worst person in the world, and I can't believe you'd release something like that about a family member. And then, like, there was all kinds of stuff. And even my sister, on a good day, she loved it. On a bad day, she thought it was the worst thing ever. So, there was all kinds of things that came with it. But again, like, I looked back and I'm like, it was that moment of like knowing what the truth was and whether I was going to put it out into the world or not.
Yeah.
And so I kind of learned from that. I'm like, oh, just be real, and in today's world, that's always the challenge, is being real, I think.
When you finally have that realization of, oh, the bottling up, like, this is what's really affecting me here, and people are more willing to listen. And I think it takes some time to realize that, but it's really valuable once you do. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think I can't speak for women, but I know for men especially, like, we bottle stuff up a lot. I think
we're supposed to, quote unquote,
stereotypically.
Right?
Yeah, I think men have a harder time talking, whereas I think women are so good at, you know, communicating, you know, or it's just more natural or something. For me, I feel like I have a more, like, art is kind of a more feminine thing, so I have, like, the communication side, but I feel like a lot of my buddies and stuff, it's not, like, natural for us to open up, like, always, you know.
And that was going to be one of my questions, as, you know, men in rock and roll, right? It's like, it's not the norm to talk about the things that you guys are talking about. Was that scary, or was that, you know, nerve-wracking for you?
Well, yeah, I think it's a sensitive area because you can very quickly go from being authentic and real and open to, like, being viewed as complainy or wimpy or fair. Like, you know, because totally people, I've definitely seen that side too, where you're like, oh, too much, right? You like dial it back, maybe think about, you know, because it you know, it is a scary thing. You are kind of opening yourself up to criticism and critique of your soul. But so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. We were talking about this the other day. It's like back in the hair metal days, it's like rock and metal was about having a good time.
Yeah, right?
Everything was about fun and, like, let's party. And I was like, I kind of missed that side. And then Nirvana showed up. Whole show's over, right? Yeah. Party's over. Like, I love Nirvana, but it was like, now we're moody, right? Like, it's not
totally
different.
We're in our feelings. Okay, all right.
Yeah, now we're moody, and now, like, being depressed is cool or something, you know? Yeah. And ever since then, there's been, like, this moody side of the genre, right? And so there's, like, this deeper element. And then, and the funniest thing too, I feel like this was very revealing. Like, a lot of the metal bands, like, aren't very metal nowadays. Like, even when the pandemic happened, I just was like, and again, I'm not getting political or anything like that, but just how people would communicate or respond to things, I was like, all these metal bands don't seem metal, like, at all. Like, they're giving these guttural screams like they're demons out of hell, but really they're, like, very, very nice people, and also very delicate, like, minded.
You get into a mosh pit, madness, and you get out of the mosh pit, and it's like you're having a drink and you're hugging, and it's like really soul sensitive kind of.
It's very strange how over the years how just trends and things and people, like, just blend all these different. I don't know. Yeah, rock metal's gone through so many phases. You know. I don't even know where we're at now, so it's fun. you know,
keep doing your thing.
We need to keep doing our thing. You know.
Well, speaking of metal, let's talk about the Scorpion and the Bassinator. How can you actually here? Let me read a quote and tell me if this is something that I don't know if it's offensive to you or if you like it.
It's pretty hard to offend me.
Okay,
it's all good.
You were described as your guys' band a mix between Blue Man Group and Rage Against the Machine. I read that.
All right. Yeah,
I read that. Is that exciting, or do you go,
No, it makes sense. I mean, we do a lot of kind of borderline, like, we make fun of ourselves, like, almost like borderline cheesy but fun, like, showpieces where it's like, I grew up in drumline, so I did a lot of, like, performance art kind of stuff. Okay. So that Las Vegas kind of show elementy thing, like, we always felt like we wanted to bring an element of that to what we do. Just make the show more interesting. Because we always felt like when we saw bands, we're like, I could have just listened to this in my car. You just stood there and played it, you know?
Well, the first time I saw the Scorpion, and I'll get our team to throw the picture up just in case anybody hasn't seen the Scorpion.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it was actually on TikTok. I see it, and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's nothing more. And, like, you're kind of watching, you're like, what? Can you explain the idea of coming up with that contraption? So what I read was 14 feet, 400 pounds. Is that true?
Did you say 400 pounds?
Yeah. That's what I read.
Yeah, somewhere around there, I guess.
That's what I read.
That sounds right.
Yeah. How do you come up with something
You have to ask our bass player. He built it. The short and the skinny of it was, like, I had this MIDI controller that looked like a video game controller.
Okay.
And all that basically means is it would send signals to the computers, and I had this idea to run the guitar and the bass and my vocal, run them all through the computer like an effects board.
Yeah.
And just like DJs do, you know, when they're remixing stuff in real time, I was like, I want to remix a live band in real time. Okay. You know, whereas DJs, you know, they're pressing buttons, but it's pre-recorded material. It's not people performing. And I was like, wonder if I could figure out a way with computers to use them as effects. So a lot of people get confused online. There's like, you know, people love to get in arguments online. If anything, it's good for us because the algorithm just, you know, boosts engagement, right?
Sure.
Hate on us, please. You know, and so a lot of people get it mistaken. They think it's an instrument. But what it actually is like a glorified effects pedal.
Okay.
So when I'm moving the levers, I'm pitching up or pitching down the guitars and my vocal, or when I hit some of the buttons, it's stuttering whatever they're playing. So if he hits a G chord, that G chord, it's going to grab it and go G, 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 G. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Or do a rhythm with it. So, and then I use that to kind of intermix with what they're playing. So it's like I'm playing the band.
That's how because I'm glad you said that, because I was like, it does look like it is like the pedals, and that's what you're doing. Although getting up on it looks insanely dangerous. Every time I'm like, he's gonna fall off this thing. Like, this thing's sturdy, but
I have.
Every time I'm like, whoa, okay, he's good. He's up there.
There was one show I'll never forget. We the guys told me before the show, like, something broke on there's like the catapult part of it, right?
Yeah.
Something broke with it, and they're like, we can't do it tonight. But we have the drums up there because there's drums built into it that I play on other parts of the song. So we get to the part of the song where I go up, and of course, when my show brain kicks in, it's like muscle memory. I don't remember anything we talked about. You know what I mean? All out the window. And so I go up and I grab the bar, and there's like this like lever that I pull that lets all the gas in to shoot it up.
Okay.
And I go to pull it, and I usually lean back because of the force going up. You know, it's just how it works.
Of course, yeah.
I lean back, and the whole thing just falls on straight on me. I'm like a cockroach, like on its back, you know, with this giant thing on me. And my bass player's like, "Oh shit!" He's throwing his bass off, trying to dig me out. So that was pretty embarrassing. But
so is it 400
hilarious.
pounds or not 400 pounds? That's just one report. That's what I read.
It's probably 400 with the catapult, but the
Okay,
actual
yeah.
drum portion of it's
Yeah,
probably 100 or 2 or something.
You guys have spent lots of time touring with different, like Chevelle, Disturbed, Papa Roach. What I'd love to do really quickly is, can you build me your 3-band set? Okay, so just Saturday, there's going to be 3 bands playing in Las Vegas. Okay, Nothing More is one of them. Okay. You can put yourself wherever you want to put yourself.
Alive or dead, or
sure,
all alive?
Yeah. Dealer's choice.
Okay. Led Zeppelin and maybe Muse. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Of course, we'd headline.
You're gonna headline.
No, I'm just kidding. No, we shouldn't. We should open.
You gonna open? There's nothing wrong with opening, though. You're setting the tone. There's
honestly, we'd open
that.
so we could party later.
Yeah.
And
you
not
get to
feel
see
the pressure.
Yeah, because then you get to see the other bands.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Let's go with that. I don't know. When people ask you, like, what's your favorite band? I'm like, I never had a favorite band. But maybe Tool. I'll add Tool as the surprise 4th act.
Oh, they're out there. They're showing up.
Yeah, they're showing up.
I can't wait. Saturday in Vegas. I can't wait, man. That's going to be incredible. Going back to the emotion, there was, you were talking in an interview, story about a couple that had met in rehab, that had met and bonded over your music. Yeah. And then I found this comment. I don't know if you've seen this comment or not. It read, "I just got out of prison after almost 2 years. I had a limited access to music. I was dying to get out and listen to this band." This is your band. "I even got a prison tattoo of their two-toned M. Anyways, I've never felt more attached to a music group as I do with these guys. The energy, the messages, the style, I love it." That's just 2 stories. If you were to go over your YouTube comments, you'd see many more like this. Can you just talk to the emotion? Because it's incredible to hear these people in these situations and what it's bringing out of them.
Yeah. It's very, like, rewarding, you know. I've come to tears many, many times talking with people on the road who just pour their heart out, and, you know, they tell you stuff they've gone through, and it makes you really go, wow, I thought I was having a tough time. You know, these people have been through the ringer. And the fact that our music gave them strength, it's cool.
It's anything you could hope for, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. I get emotional even thinking about it.
No,
it's, you know, there was quite a few times we wanted to hang it up, you know.
Yeah.
But that stuff kind of fuels us, our soul.
I totally hear you. I'll leave you with one more quote, all right? And you can tell me who said this quote, okay? "When things seem especially rough, just ask yourself, did I shit my pants today? And if the answer is no, you're doing all right." Who said that?
Oh, man, I just posted that on my social media, but it was like It was someone with a K.
Yeah.
Kiesler or
Okay.
Kessler.
Kessler. Okay.
I think it was Kessler. Is
Anyway,
that right?
you saw it and you went, yeah, this speaks to me.
Yeah, I just went for the quote, you know? I didn't even. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, that's incredible. I appreciate you joining us. Of course, Spirits is the album. You can check it out. North American tour, nothing more. Jonny Hawkins, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, good talking with you, man.